Good morning. I'm with Ari Sussman of Collective Mining. The symbol of Collective is CNL, both in the US and Canada. It's just very easy. Good morning, Ari. How are you?
Good morning, and I'm doing very well. How are you? Looking forward to the holiday break coming up.
Yeah, it's the 19th of December, but they're not stopping the news flow yet. We're getting hit with bunch of M&A and all kinds of news is still coming out. People need to go on vacation already.
I think today is a foreshadow of what we're going to see in Q1 and Q2. There's going to be a lot of activity in the sector, and I'm happy to see it because I think what's happened in the M&A side of the space is the large companies have gone to sleep. They're generally the last to the M&A party, so it's nice to see something like Highland Silver, today stepping up and merging with Bear Creek. I think we're going to see more of that kind of M&A in the new year, and that's good because as those companies get bigger, they'll become more attractive for larger companies to ultimately consolidate.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a little bit of a theme in some of the transactions that we've seen announced in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks. Some of these middle-sized companies are trying to scale up and get to that $1 billion plus, market cap level where they'll get bigger allocations in all the ETFs and funds.
I think it's a smart move. I think you don't, if you sit around and wait for the large companies to do something, you might grow old. So the way to force their hands has always been to consolidate and grow internally, and eventually they always come. And so they're not there yet, but the big companies buying small ones, but as small ones consolidate and grow, I think it's a really good sign for what we're going to see. And the FOMO of this industry, right, is alive and well. And so you look at the Highlander Silver this morning. I think last I looked, the stock was up, I think 15%. Right, it's the both of them. So that when you have rallying stocks on M&A, that's going to encourage more people to do it.
Boom. Yeah, that's the soundbite right there.
And look at Talon. We were in the Talon. I mean, what's Talon up? Probably 15%. I think I saw earlier as well.
35%.
35. So I only saw the opening, right? So there you go, right? I mean, so when you're getting rewarded for doing this by shareholders on heavy volume, right, it's going to encourage more to do it. And so get creative, everybody. It's going to be a fun 2026.
All right, I like that. Okay, we can end the interview right there.
Yeah, that's it.
So look, you guys have momentum. 3 news releases in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Really good drill intercepts. Ramp just keeps getting better and better and better. So the last news release out earlier this week, highest grade intercept ever at Apollo, 24.8 meters, grading almost 30 grams per ton gold. And, within that was 63.9 meters, or sorry, the bigger interval is 63.9 meters of 13.46 grams. But inside that, you have a really high grade interval of almost an ounce per ton over 25 meters. So tell us about Ramp, Ari.
So look, when we made the Ramp discovery, okay, the only analogy we had was Aris Mining's Marmato Deeps, and our initial interpretation was, well, we think it's the top of a Marmato Deep style system, but we don't have the quartz veining. It's a reduced system, so it's a reduced intrusion related system without the quartz. We thought we would get into the quartz. Now, to be honest, we've gone down, 300 and some odd meters vertically. I'm not so sure we're ever going to see quartz. I think it's actually different than Marmato Deeps. And to be frank, it's so far better. The grade profile is significantly, very significantly higher. Okay. And the important thing on that intercept that you mentioned, is 63 meters at over 13 grams, is that drill intercept was close to true width. I don't want to go out on a limb and say that is true width because it's early days still on the system, But if you look at the image in our press release, we drilled across it at a good angle. This was not down it. Okay. And the exciting thing is that we have visuals on a follow-up hole. So further down plunge from that hole. And although we don't have the assays and they're not expected till January, it had a lot of VG. Okay, so more VG than the hole that was just announced. So I don't want your viewers and listeners to think that automatically means we're going to find even better grade. It doesn't. But we hit again. Okay, and it's not going to be low grade. I'm confident it's going to be attractive grade again. You know, and the width of it looks something similar to that intercept. So this is really good. And what if this continues? I mean, these are the deepest holes drilled in ramp. We have no idea what's below, you know, or along strike. And what if this continues? You're going to build ounces here very quickly at those widths and those grades.
So this is the deepest hole you've drilled at ramp. Is that correct?
Not only the deepest, the furthest northeast. So it's the furthest along strike to the northeast and the deepest combined.
Okay. And in the news release, you talk about how you've mobilized some more rigs that can go even deeper to test this even further down dip. So, I mean, how deep can you go here?
Well, if you look at other companies, right? So like Atex, for example, to put out results, drill holes in Chile this morning. I mean, they're drilling 2-kilometer holes like nothing, right? So we're nowhere near that deep yet, right? We're, you know, the intercept below surface was about 1.4 kilometers from the surface. So in theory, we could go down another 500 or 600 meters, you know, in this. And your viewers and listeners should not forget that we're going to be accessing this in the future when there's a mine built here by a tunnel that will come in at 1,000 meters below surface. So the intercept, although seems very deep, right? It's only 300 or 400 meters below where the main haulage tunnel is going to be. That's not deep at all, right? So ramp starts at the elevation of that main haulage tunnel, and now we've got it down, you know, 300-ish meters below that and continuing. So this is really exciting stuff, and we could probably go down another 400, 500, 600 meters with drilling without getting crazy, you know, with stationary expensive rigs. I mean, this is working well, and we have good productivity.
Is the VG something new that you're seeing? I mean, I don't recall a lot of holes here in the past you talking about VG.
So we had VG a couple of flakes, okay, in the shallower drilling, you know, where we reported some amazing intercepts as well, 75 meters at 8 grams, 50 meters at 8 point something grams. So we'd see 1 or 2 flakes, but in the hole that is outstanding, okay, over a 12-meter section, we have 16 individual flakes of VG. I do want to caution again that this is not like thick wiry VG where I am confident that there's going to be a meter at 1,000 grams in there within a bigger intercept. I don't think it's that. It's small flakes, but it's visible to the eye. We're not the microscopic type company. I know many are, where they talk about all their VG under the scope. This was all picked out from quick logging of core with the eye without the microscope, so you can see it.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, in my mind, that would bode well, but sometimes you never know with the assays.
So given the intercept we reported, I'd be shocked if we don't have another high-grade intercept. I hope better than the one we reported, but obviously the truth machine is the assay lab, and we'll have those results. They're expected around the 3rd week of January.
So how big is this now, Ari? I mean, you've drilled it to 1,400 meters depth. The grades are improving at depth. What kind of scale are we talking about here in total?
It's a good question that I don't have the best answer to yet. But look, I have openly said that I believe ultimately Apollo as an entire system will grow to 10 million plus ounces. Okay, we have a plan to get to an initial mineral resource estimate either about a year from now, at worst 15 months from now. It's all going to depend on the drilling productivity in 2026. So I'm not saying we're going to be at 10 plus million ounces on that and maiden resource, but it's starting to look like I'm going to be right, and our team's going to be right. This is going to grow to ultimately to over 10 million ounces, and possibly a lot more if ramp continues to grow at anywhere near these grades. I mean, this is incredible stuff.
Okay, so how many rigs do you have on the project right now? 10 or 11?
Okay, so we had 10 rigs coming into the break. I think we've shut down for the break 6 of them. The other 4 will be shutting down over the course of this weekend. Okay, next year we plan to drill up to 100,000 meters, but have budgeted 83,500 meters. Okay, the goal is 100. That's going to be productivity based. We'll peak at up to 14 rigs at one point during next year. So it'll be our largest program ever. A lot of that will be on Apollo, but we will be focusing on San Antonio and on the trap discovery, which you may remember from many months ago. We have not been drilling that because we're going through titling of some applications that are at the north end of trap, which we believe are key for that system. And that titling process is well advanced. We expect by the end of Q1 we will be titled.
Yeah, let's talk about San Antonio. So this is something we haven't talked about in a little bit. I think you had 4 rigs going there the last time we spoke. What's new at San Antonio, and where are the rigs?
Okay, so all 4 stopped yesterday for the break, and the day prior. We finished the hole. That was it. Okay, so what are we seeing? Because we can only talk about visuals. So let me start with this. We expect by mid-January we're going to have a fairly comprehensive release with assays, on San Antonio. Everything's been bulked together and in the lab waiting, other than the most recent holes, which are being cut today and over the weekend, and will be sent in before Christmas, hopefully. There's two parts to San Antonio. So at the pound target in the north, we have a deeper porphyry target, which we did intersect but didn't find the sweet spot. And then we have, or hope that we'd have, a shallower vein system, which are late stage porphyry veins, right, being generated. So gold, silver rich veins. From the core, which we've been focused on in the shallow vein system, because our view at pound has been, if we don't have something potentially mineable shallow, what does it matter what's really deep? It looks like we have intercepts of some kind of mineralization, right, that approaches very close to surface. Okay, so I think we're going to see some shallow intercepts, not right at surface, but starting potentially within 30 meters of surface. It looks like the top 30 meters or so is leached, okay, from the weathering profile. I think we're going to have a silver system there. I think we're going to see some attractive silver. We see silver minerals, so silver sulfosalt style minerals in the core logging, in robust quantities in veins, and I think we're going to see some attractive grades. I'm hoping, anyways, of gold and silver once we get those assays in the shallow part. The porphyry target itself is pointing to the south. Okay, everything points. The data points to the south. We've been pushing our way south. Okay, so the big drilling for the porphyry will be in the south starting January 6th when we resume drilling after the break. And we are hopeful that it comes very shallow in the south, right? The outcropping rock is very attractive that we have found over the last 3 months, which was us using the data to follow the trend. And so maybe we found the deep portion of it at pound in the north, and in the south, it's called dollar or euro. That area, I think that we have a chance at finding something that comes close to surface. So veins on one side, on the west side, porphyry on the east side, and hopefully combined, we're going to have something exciting to report here over time.
So the current interpretation at San Antonio is that the pound target is the deep portion of the porphyry, and the porphyry may be coming closer to surface to the south at the euro target.
Exact euro slash dollar, right? Dollar sits right above euro. Maybe they should be one target. We don't know. But we've got a attractive outcropping porphyry B veins with remnants of copper and gold in them. When I say remnants, remember we're in a leaching environment, so we don't find % copper on surface. It's eroded into space. Or leached out, but we have attractive profile for a leaching environment and at surface, this anomalism. So, I don't think it's going to come right to surface, but maybe we're going to find it pretty close to surface. Let's keep our fingers crossed and This is January, like resumption drilling. I mean, the rigs are being mobilized over the break to be set up so that we don't mobilize and then drill. We're turning come January 6th.
Is there any evidence of super gene layer there at San Antonio?
No, it's a leach. So it's just a leach. It's a leach. So so what we might find, okay, in this leaching is we might actually find the gold will stick around, okay, because gold leaches slower than copper, but that remains to be seen when we drill. But I think what you're going to see is 30 or 40 meters of poor copper grades, and then if it's there, it will get better quickly.
Okay.
And it's a funny system, right? And this is Apollo too. It's like abrupt. Everyone talks about these transition or intermediate zones, where it goes from oxide to sulfide with a transition. Here, it seems to be like someone drew a magical line and it goes from oxide to sulfide, within 1 or 2 meters without much transition.
Interesting.
It's really how the water flew, like how the water flowed many millions of years ago, right? That caused this. So it's just, we're following river creeks and things like that.
So the rigs are going to immediately start at $/euro in January.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So when we flip this way, went back to work post New Year's, they're drilling that the next day, probably one day to get set up to get things ordered and drilling.
With this shallower silver potential that you may have uncovered at San Antonio, what kind of grades do you need to see in these assays to say, hey, this is quite interesting?
So that's a good question. I don't know. Okay, so I think we're going to see two types of things. Okay, so I think we're going to see lower grade bulk potential and with higher grade veins within. Whether one would attack that as veins at high grade within will really depend on how high grade they are or not, right? So I don't know. Let's wait till we get the assays, and see. But my view on, first of all, I'm hopeful. I don't know because there's no way to tell from visuals, but I'm hopeful that when we have the silver minerals, there'll be gold with it too. So it'll be gold and silver veins, not just standalone silver. But if it is standalone silver and we're looking at a vein system, man, I would assume you need to be at 1,000 grams per ton plus to consider it. I'm not a believer in 150 gram vein systems in silver, right? Because you put that into gold equivalent, that's like 2 grams. I always look at veins like you need 3 grams per ton in narrow veins to be economic. Maybe in the current environment, it's 2 grams. But so you got to look at it that way in gold equivalent, right? So I would say 1,000 grams would be interesting to me plus in veins.
Okay. So what are the objectives for 2026? I mean, 2025 has been an incredible year for the company. You've accomplished so much. You just closed a huge financing. You're fully funded for 2026. So what are the key milestones that investors should look for in 2026?
Starting from boring to most interesting, the boring is do the infill work required to ultimately get to a mineral resource estimate at Apollo. The interesting is the growth at Ramp. I mean, this high-grade discovery at the bottom of Ramp was really out there from anything we've drilled previously at Ramp, and then based on the visuals, let's keep going deeper and along strike. So if we grow at Ramp, I mean, this is a growth story again, right, with significant grade. So that's where we're going to be focused. 5 rigs will be turning by February at Ramp, 3 starting in January and 2 more coming in February. So it's going to be a lot of activity. And then the focus on the exploration side outside of Apollo is going to be twofold. It's San Antonio is number 1, and the trap system is number 2. Let me say this to you. We have a legitimate shot at finding a copper gold porphyry at Trap in the north.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Yes. I mean, we have a beautiful outcropping porphyry rocks, okay, in situ. Okay, we've seen them in a creek. So, full of magnetite, attractive gold, and relatively attractive copper grades, given it's been sitting in a river or creek, getting washed. So this is outcropping, and all the gold mineralization that we found previously in drilling, we interpret to be the distal veins to the porphyry. Right, and so we think we know where the porphyry is. It's in the ground that we're looking to get granted. This part of the process of granting exploration licenses from applications that's well advanced. and we will be rigs turning there as soon as we have that license stamped. I'm really excited by it. I think we got a chance at something big. And the thing I love about Trap is, if you go to our presentation and look at the design of the future underground tunnel, okay, that will access Apollo, the first thing it's going to connect by is Trap.
Right.
Right. And so that's, by the way, we're hoping to start that tunnel in 2026, the second half of the year, to get moving on that. So if we can have underground access to Trap, in 2027, that's going to be really exciting. From past experience doing underground development for exploration purposes, you learn so much and generally find way more. We did it at Continental Gold. Man, did we find a lot of metal. And it really enhanced the understanding of the system. I mean, everyone's a genius from drill holes until you go underground. And then it becomes a story of slap your forehead and say, gotcha. I should have known that, because it was kind of obvious, but it never is until you're underground, right?
All right, so let me get clear on these Trap targets. So are the Trap copper gold porphyry targets, are they in between Apollo and Trap in an area? There's like a big area that you haven't even touched yet. Are those targets?
That's right. So Trap, okay, so the tunnel, from where we envision building the tunnel to Apollo, it's going to be about 3 to 3.5 kilometers of lateral development. So it's long, okay? But in the first few hundred meters, we'll reach Trap. Trap is well northeast of Apollo, right? So it's a different trend of mineralization, but it'll be right there, because that's the right location to build this tunnel. So everything in between Trap and Apollo is mainly virgin at this point. We don't know what we'll find in that tunnel. But given the nature of this system and how big it is, I suspect we will accidentally run into something interesting on the way. But that's for a later date. That's not for this coming year. That's in the future.
Okay. Let's talk about Colombia. We have elections coming up in summer 2026. What's going on there? Are there any new insights you can give us on which party or which candidate has the lead right now, and sort of how the winds are shifting for the mining industry?
Look, I think everybody that is investing in mining needs to see the big picture as to what's happening, okay? And Colombia almost assuredly is going to elect a pro-business government, okay? Whether it's center or right, all will be pro-business. But really, the important thing that's happening is we in the United States are flexing our muscles, okay? And this has been a big shift, something I suspect should have happened many decades ago, by saying, hey, world, the Americas belong together as the Americas, and everyone else should get out, okay? And what have we seen? We've seen Bolivia, elect the first time in I think it's 3 decades, a pro-America government, and right away said, okay, we're moving the Chinese and the Russian influence out, and we're supporting the United States. Chile just swung this way, okay? Colombia is going to swing this way. Venezuela, we all know what's going on there. There's now a naval blockade preventing oil from exporting out of Colombia. Out of Venezuela. That really, I mean, yes, that's there. I suspect there's going to be a regime change over the 2026 in Venezuela. But think about what that means. Like 4 or 5% of China's oil comes from Venezuela. That's now been shut off. Okay, so this is where the trend is going, and we are in an era where resource nationalism and protecting our countries have become of paramount importance. This is the golden age for mining. I think we're living through the early days of what's going to be the best time for mining since it peaked in the 1980s. Okay, we are back. Okay, and so the Colombias of the world are going to become very hot. Okay, from a North American perspective, because the prospectivity, frankly, is far better given the lack of exploration than it is in the United States or in Canada or Mexico. So you're going to see a lot of activity. We saw today a new company called Tiger Gold, I believe it's called, which is Colombian list on the TSX Venture. Today went public today, and you're going to see a lot of activity come, and all this is going to be supported by a pro-American government that will get elected next summer.
Ari, thank you for your time, and thank you for all the conversations that we've shared in 2025. I like the sound of that, the golden age of mining. Thank you.
Good talking to you, and happy holidays.